Hello. Welcome to another special, unedited, raw, uncut episode of Radical Audacity. I am Tiffany Kane, the Heck Yes Coach, and I'm here today to talk to you about the things that are going on in the world that apply to you and me as we try to live our most radically audacious life with integrity and authenticity. So today I come to you talking again about this Supreme Court decision of Roe v. Wade and overturning Roe v. Wade. There have been so many things going on around this, so many conversations, and I've been making lots of posts. What's really fascinating is that I am noticing this intense division in the way we look at the topic. Now, I haven't been living under a rock. I know that abortion and women's reproductive health rights has been a very, very divisive topic. My whole life. I'm 48 years old, so I've known that it's a divisive topic. But I'm seeing the divisiveness go beyond just we're going to have a debate on the topic and into this vitriolic, hate-filled conversation on both sides of the argument. And I want to talk about that today. Now, I am taking inspiration from Brené Brown, her book, Braving the Wilderness, specifically the chapter, The Quest for True Belonging and the Courage to Stand Alone. Brené Brown makes such a beautiful point. She says, we must never tolerate dehumanization, the primary instrument of violence that has been used in every genocide recorded throughout history. So what do we mean? What does she mean by dehumanization? I watched a concert put on by two musical artists that I very much represent, Lily Allen, who is one of my favorites, and somebody else. And they were singing Lily Allen's song, Fuck You. Yes, this is an explicit episode. So they were singing Lily Allen's song, Fuck You, and they dedicated it to the 5 Supreme Court justices. And, they were giving them the birds, and you could see the audience getting all worked up. Now, I'm going to say right now, I love Lily Allen, and I got to tell you, that song was my anthem for a couple months as I was going through my divorce. And I think there is definitely a place for righteous anger and for music that helps you get that anger out and those feelings out. So I'm not saying that righteous indignation and anger are wrong. I am definitely not saying that at all. What I am saying, though, is that when we dehumanize people and we wish ill upon them because we don't agree with them, that now suddenly we are becoming as bad as we think they are, if you get my point. So I think Brené Brown does it better than I'm doing it right now. A quote from this chapter says, if you are offended or hurt when you hear Hillary Clinton or Maxine Walters called bitch, whore, or the C word, you should be equally offended and hurt when you hear those same words used to describe Ivanka Trump, Kellyanne Conway, or Theresa May. Now, this book was written during the first Trump election, when, oh my goodness, feelings were high and raw and painful. And you heard people saying awful, awful things about Kellyanne Conway and Ivanka and Theresa May. Horrible things, dehumanizing things. Why is it okay to say terrible things against people that we don't agree with? This is why we are in a situation in our country when we can't talk to each other. It's because we dehumanize each other. Instead of trying to understand each other, we dehumanize each other. And so one side says, well, if you are pro-choice, then you are baby killers and you deserve to go to hell. And then the other side says, well, if you are pro-life, then you're killing women and there will be dead women in the streets and you are awful. And we get this conversation going, well, where there's no possible conversation. We get this rhetoric going where we cannot talk to each other. Another thing Brene Brown says is, when the president of the United States calls women dogs or talks about grabbing pussy, we should get chills down our spine and resistance flowing through our veins. When people call the president of the United States a pig, we should reject that language regardless of our politics and demand discourse that doesn't make people subhuman. We should not want our presidents talked about in subhuman language, whether we agree with them or not. It shouldn't be okay. We shouldn't wish ill on the Supreme Court justices because we don't agree with their opinions. What does that make us if we are calling for them to be harmed? There are people out there that are threatening death upon the Supreme Court justices that made this decision because they don't agree with the decision. And so how are you doing the right thing when you're asking for harm against others? And so what I am asking for is for us to have a discourse where we see each other as humans. And yes, we can have passionate feelings about our topic. You guys know I think passion is vital, and I quit my other job because they said I had too much passion. So I am certainly not asking you to dim your light or hide it under a basket. Go out there and march. Go out there and show your anger and your righteous indignation and stand up for what you believe in. We have to do this. Our voices have to be heard. But can we do it in such a way where we are not dehumanizing the other side, where we are not wishing ill and harm on the other side? Do we like it when women have to be walked into an abortion clinic with protection because their lives are at risk for them walking into a Planned Parenthood or some other clinic? No, that doesn't feel good, and we don't want that to be the case in this country. Along the same lines, our Supreme Court justices should not fear for their lives as they're walking into their job. We don't have to agree with what they did. We can stand up and say changes need to be made. This is not okay. But we should not dehumanize, and we should not wish ill or harm on people we do not agree with. And this is the stand that I am taking. I'm holding an event today where several podcasters are holding space for women to come share their stories, to share how the Roe v. Wade overturning is affecting them, their fears, their concerns, and their own personal stories. And I am going to hold a very, very, very strong line that we are not going to have hate speech, that we are not going to wish ill upon those that made this decision, or that they themselves are celebrating the overturning of Roe v. Wade. We shouldn't wish ill on people. We shouldn't wish harm. We shouldn't be using language against those people that dehumanize them, calling them animals or wanting them hurt or anything along those lines. We should have dignity, and we should see people as human, and we should work together to try to understand each other. And my friends, the Supreme Court said that the women's reproductive rights is not a federal decision to make. And so maybe what we should really be working on is making it as well that it is not a state decision to make. And so we stand up and we talk to our state leaders and we say, if the Supreme Court of the United States of America says that our bodies are not under the guise of the federal government, if the federal government cannot regulate what happens to our bodies if it's left up to the states, then we need to say to the states, guess what? Our bodies should not be part of what happens in the state. Your state laws and regulations should not be covering our health care. Our health care should be between us and our medical providers and whatever God, deity, spiritual being that we talk to. That it should be our decision and our right. And so we can fight that fight. And we can do that in a way that is strong and powerful and loud, but also gives dignity and human rights to people on the other side. How do you feel about this? Do you agree with Brene Brown? Do you agree that we should have this dissidence and this righteous indignation and these conversations and marching and just all of those things, but also keep dignity and humanizing the other side involved? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Please reach out to me. You know I love having these conversations. You know that I am very interested in hearing your topic. I am passionate about voices being heard, and I am passionate about helping your voice to be heard. If you leave me a voice memo on my DM, I just might download it and share it with everybody. So come on over to Instagram and find me and leave me a message. You can either type it or leave a voice message. If you don't want me to share your name, I won't share your name. You can just let me know that you'd like it to be anonymous. But please share your feelings on this. I'm so interested in knowing. You can find me on Instagram at Tiffany Kane, TiphanyKane. That link is in the show notes. And if this message resonated with you, if it made you think just a little bit differently, if it made you question just a little bit, then share it with somebody else who you'd like to have a conversation with, who you'd like to say, hey, friend, what do you think about this? Please share the podcast. It helps so much to get the message out. Thank you. Have a beautiful day, and make sure your voice is heard.